Hi guys, it's Reagan and welcome to the start of another reading vlog. This reading vlog is extra special because I'm going to be reading one of my most anticipated YA fantasy releases in so long. Ever since I read book 1 of the series, I have been impatiently waiting for the release of book 2. It's finally here and I'm finally about to read it and I could not be more excited. But without further ado, let's chat about my TBR for this video. So the book I am featuring shouldn't be too much of a surprise, but that is Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. This is book 2 to the Legendborn Cycle series and I am just truly obsessed with it. Honestly, everything about this series is incredible. I also wanted to quickly mention too that I am reading The Golem and the Genie by Helene Wecker. I am about 70 pages of the way through this, and I also downloaded the audiobook, which I hope to listen to just whilst I'm playing Pokemon, going on walks, and I'm loving this book as well. But let's just get in a little more detail about both of these reads. So if you're not familiar, the Legendborn series is a YA urban fantasy series and it's truly amazing. In book 1, we're introduced to our main character Bree, and Bree is mourning the loss of her mother, and to kind of run away from her grief and the grief of her father, she's decided to accept enrollment into a very prestigious high school program that exists on the UNC campus. She arrives there and on her first night she actually witnesses a magical attack, and this sort of introduces her to not only a world where magic and monsters exist, but also a order based on Arthur's Round Table that also exists, which are kind of pledged to protect humans from this evil force and magic. Once Bree realizes that magic is in our world, she starts to think a bit more about her mother's passing and thinks that maybe magic has something to do with it. So she decides that she is going to try out to become a part of this society. And the entire book sort of kicks off from there. It's all about family and legacy and magic. The first one was so action-packed. The end totally blew my mind, and I have a feeling book 2 is going to be just as incredible as book 1. Bree as a main character is incredible, but the story itself is just so imaginative, so gripping, and just it has so many levels to it, which makes it impossible to put down. And as I've also mentioned, I'm reading The Golem and the Genie, which is very different, I guess. This is a historical fiction novel with fantastical elements as well, and we are following, just as the name implies, a golem and a genie. It's set in the turn of the century in New York City, and both of these characters sort of find themselves in New York and in a new life, with very little context and experience to help them navigate this. The golem's life began in the belly of a ship when her master and maker was transporting her from Europe to America. He actually died on the ship, so she arrives on the shores of America kind of listless and without any type of guide and very little experience in the world itself, as she was literally just born. We also follow a djinn who has been trapped inside of a magical lamp for like 1,000 years. And at the beginning of this book, he is released from captivity in the Lower East Side. And again, I think these two characters are just sort of working to settle into their new lives, make friends, get involved in the neighborhood, things like that. Again, I've read about 65 pages of this book, and I found the first little bit I've read to be absolutely entrancing, from the writing style to the structure. It's clearly going to be very character-led, and I think the time period and everything is just going to work so well. But I just find the writing style and everything about it to be so gripping, the concept to be really unique, and work so well just within the overall like objective of the story. I read the first 65 pages, but I'm looking forward to switching over to the audiobook because how this book is written I feel like will just work really well in an audio setting. So I am really looking forward to both of these books, but that is the plan for this vlog, basically to get as far as I can in both of these stories, and I can't wait. So welcome to this vlog, looking forward to it, and I will keep you guys updated with my reading progress. On an unrelated note, have I shown y'all my completed front Christmas tree? I got some additional ornaments, which I think are really pretty. I put some ribbon, and she is G2G. I'll show you again in the evening because she truly shines. But truth be told, I am actually going to go sit and enjoy reading right now. I've been battling a bit of a cold, so I haven't really felt like doing anything but reading anyway. So I think this is going to be just what the doctor ordered, you know what I mean? Oh, she's TikToking, but I have so many Thanksgiving leftovers, and I honestly just tried to prepare them in like a lot of different ways to keep it fresh and interesting. So I made like a turkey salad, you know, which I'm gonna plop on some toasted sourdough for lunch. Should be super tasty. This is just green onion, celery, dill, mayo, lots of Dijon, salt, pepper. I like a really savory chicken salad. Sometimes I'll put like dried cranberries, but wasn't feeling that today, so we just went classic. Yum. Guys, I have flown through the first 75 pages of this book. I'm gonna read to page 100 before I do my first update, which I am going to get to right now, because again, I'm reading this really, really fast, and I'm excited to let y'all know what I think so far. Hello, world. Matilda just got up very excitingly, but I've read 100 pages of Bloodmarked. Oh, she has her latte. She loves a holiday latte. Anyway, so I read 100 pages of Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn, and I am already like obsessed with this. Like already, the author has completely pulled me in. I read that 100 pages so fast. So if you've read the first one, which is called Legendborn, you would know that it ends explosively. Like the ending of Legendborn is so good. It's incredible. In terms of Bloodmarked, you're kind of just thrown right back into the mix. There's a lot of significant fallout that occurs due to the events of Legendborn. So there's just so many places that Tracy Deonn can go in this next book, and I can't wait to explore those things with her. Definitely took me a second to get settled back into the story. There's lots of characters, lots of rules within this secret society. There's lots of information I needed to like reacclimate myself with, but I do feel like the author did a good job kind of laying it out in like very obvious terms, so I could be like, oh yes, okay, yes, I remember now. Just immediately you are just compelled by Bree as a main character, and there's just so many interesting and dynamic relationships present in this book, and just the concept is also so, my bangs are doing all sorts of things right now. It's just a really fascinating world of magic, and also just the structure and the frustration that comes from a powerful organization and secret society is also interesting to learn about too. Because through Bree's main character, a lot of this is like learning about her magic as it relates to magic, and like a lot of it is connected to Bree's heritage, which is a huge part of this book, which is one of my favorite elements of this book as well. But the structure of the secret society is complicated, and like how it works. Basically, there's like different knights that are related to the Knights of the Round Table, and there's pages, and there's scions, and there's magic, and there's demons. Like how everything works is complicated, and also, but not confusing, and also brutal. And there's power plays, and there's people who are wanting to be in charge, and there's like all different types of political maneuvering happening, and a line in the sand was drawn. I gasped already reading this book. I gasped already reading this book. And we're also introduced to some new characters. We're getting more insight into other arms of the organization. Like Tracy Deonn is kind of pacing her reveal so well so as to not overwhelm the reader. Like once we get comfortable with one area, she's like, great, now we can kind of open the next door and see and experience some other parts of this organization. And it's just so good. Anyway, all this is to say, I'm hooked. I can't wait to find out what happens next. I'm gonna read more tonight. I'm gonna take a bit of a Pokemon break, and I think I'm gonna listen to my audiobook for a little while, but I will be reading more of Bloodmarked tonight for sure, because it's just truly so good. Feeling under the weather means delivery udon and below deck. Matilda joining me cozy in bed, but I'm trying to go to bed early tonight. Obviously, again, because I'm feeling a little under the weather, but also because I want to read as much Bloodmarked as possible. So, challenge accepted. Good morning, everyone. It's actually kind of late in the morning. I have been up for like 4. Oh, I'm getting coffee everywhere. Wow, disaster. I've been up for like 4 hours. I kind of woke up feeling really sick, but also had energy. So I thought, let's just do all the work. And then in the afternoon, when I inevitably need to take a nap, I can do that. Other great news is that I read to page 150 last night of Bloodmarked. That book is amazing. I also read 20 pages of The Golem and the Genie. So I read 170 pages yesterday, Clay.
That's incredible.
Thank you. And I played 2 hours of Pokemon.
That's even more incredible.
Gotta catch them all. Anyway, morning. Lunch is some French onion soup. We also have a baguette in the picture and a croissant. Basically, when I don't feel well, I just want to eat carbs. Tilda and I just watched the World Cup game, which was so fun. And I have a reading update for you guys. Hi friends, so I owe you a reading update of Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. I have read 200 pages of this book, and I'm actually going to sit down and read more because this book is absolutely impossible to put down. Just like its predecessor, it's just so action-packed, and it's proving to just be like all the things I love in YA fantasy. Such great characters, also like young characters up against older establishment people and them kind of trying to change the game. It's equal mix inspiring and frustrating, and just it creates a recipe that just makes you want to scream but also keep reading. My favorite part about book 2 is that we're continuing to learn more about the establishment that is this Arthurian secret society, and with any establishment that's been around for 15 centuries, there's very clearly going to be some issues. There's also going to be some like power imbalance issues, and also people more interested in the power itself than the tradition and even the mission of this institution, which is to protect mankind against evil. And you're kind of seeing all of that play out in this book. Alongside that though, we're watching Bree, our main character, have to grapple with power and magic, and it's just really interesting, and all of those politics at play are great. There's also a lot of stuff just happening. Again, 200 pages in, and Tracy Deonn was like, don't worry, there will be no filler. We're gonna be jumping and jumping and jumping and jumping, and you're gonna be like, what? It's truly unputdownable. Just the action is non-stop, even more than the first one, which I'm just propelled through this book, which is why I, after taking a bit of a break watching the World Cup, I sped through my work and I was like, I want to read. I even made a fresh pot of coffee because I'm feeling a little tired because I also have a cold, but I'm like, that's not gonna stop me from reading more of Bloodmarked. This book is 500, I want to say like 550-ish pages, so I'm hoping to finish obviously in the next couple days ahead of the end of the month, and I'm definitely tracking to be able to do that, especially just because of how dang good this book is, so that is great news. I'm also trying to do my best to like film this reading vlog without there being spoilers, and just know I'm losing my mind right now. Absolutely losing my mind. Oh, the other really cool thing that Tracy Deonn does in this series is combining all of these different types of magic that have different origins, truly through different heritage, and it's such a thoughtful addition to this book, and it's working so well. Just like, again, just the layers of this series are just, she's really thought the whole thing out, and it just, you can feel it, you can see it, the execution, amazing. Anyway, I haven't read a YA book in a minute. Like, it's actually been a minute. I don't read very much YA anymore. Not to say I don't enjoy YA, obviously. I just think I'm maybe a little more selective in the ones that I think I will love, and I only try to like seek those out. Tracy Deonn, masterclass. Masterclass. The only way to drink a late afternoon coffee. Oh, this makes a weird sound. That was, oh, it's extra creamy. H-E-B, fancy. My cooking hiatus continues with katsu curry for dinner. Even came with a little miso soup side. Listen, when I'm sick, I just want to order all my favorite things, so we've been doing that. Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry I did not check in much last night. I went to bed really early, but I'm actually feeling much better today, which is great news. I am going to enjoy this cup of coffee and actually read Bloodmarked. I am on page, and I've also successfully reached the 300 page mark, so I'm going to just continue getting this read. It's so good. It's so explosive. Like, every time I feel like there's a lull, I'm wrong, basically. So I'm just propelling myself through this book, and I'm gonna go read some more. I got dressed today for the first time in what feels like a week. Just wearing overalls, but I put this cute new plaid cardigan I got from Anthropologie during their Black Friday sale. Nice. Hi friends, before I get too settled into the work I need to do today, I wanted to give you an update on Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn, as I was able to read As I said, 300 pages, and I actually just sat down and read another 50. So I'm on page 350. I'm truly in the home stretch of this book with about 200 pages left. And I'm just really enjoying this ride. Again, it's been a minute since I've read anything YA, and there are elements that you often just run into in YA, stylistically speaking, that I just haven't encountered in a minute, and I'm really enjoying their inclusion. Like, first off, angst. Angst in emotion, like the feeling of like first love, the confusion, the will they, won't they, like all of those things sort of tangled together in just a way that YA handles it just makes one for incredibly entertaining situations. And I don't know, Bree as our main character, again, you just love her so much that you're rooting for her, but also like she's going through it. Like there's some confusing emotional situations intertwined into this already very complicated larger plot that has nothing to do with romance or like tension between characters. Also, the kind of the antagonist setup, don't get me wrong, there's lots of layers within this book, but there are some like classic, almost like mustache twirling villains that are just so easy to root against. You know what I mean? Like you're so clearly like, yes, take them down, Bree and friends, you know, that it creates just, you're just rooting for everyone involved, if you know what I mean. But all that to say, this book is not predictable. I'm really enjoying all the twists and turns of this story. I almost feel like we're getting a little bit of everything here in a good way. Like the first book really only had one setting. We have moved around quite a bit in book 2, which has allowed us to not only see more into the organization, as I've already referenced quite a few times, but just kind of move around to different locations and setups that again create various character tension, if you will, and it's just all so interesting. I'm going to be reading more here in a little bit, but I have more work I need to get done, so I'm going to go focus on that for the time being, but I wanted to give you an update as I have read a good chunk. I only have just a little bit of this book left. I'm for sure on track to be able to finish it tomorrow. I'm also going to for sure listen to more Gollum and the Genie tonight while I play Pokemon. That book, again, is beautiful. It has so many different characters. As I've mentioned with that book, we're obviously following the Gollum and the Genie as they're getting settled into the neighborhood, but there's also these beautiful chapters interspersed in their story that kind of hyper focuses on just a random member of the neighborhood they're living in. We just get a deep dive into who they are, their past, and how they ended up where they are now in America, and it's so beautiful. It's like this one larger story interspersed with all these individual separate stories, but it creates this tapestry of experience, and it's so lovely. And the two books I'm reading could not be more different, but they're both stunning in their own ways, you know? But anyway, I gotta go. It's time to have that remaining coffee and read 50 more pages of Bloodmarked right now. Hello, I am making a potato leek soup. I'm also cooking up some bacon. Top the soup, everything is now doing its thing, and I can relax and just enjoy this good soup. And soup is done, turned out so good. And Clay and I are starting White Lotus, which we are super excited about, especially after I found out Survivor alum Mike White was the creator. Plot twist. Hello friends, Clay and I watched multiple episodes of White Lotus. We're very intrigued by the show. It's an interesting show because, I mean, I still don't totally know like what the exact hook is, but I feel this tension watching it, and it's very interesting. I can see why it's popular, so we're definitely gonna be watching more of that. But I'm gonna get back to Bloodmarked because I'm trying to finish this book tomorrow, and I really want to know what happens next. I don't have much. And that's really the plan for the rest of the evening. So I'm gonna convince Matilda here to come with me to lay down. You ready for bed, Millie? Is it bedtime? Let's go to bed. Come on. It's bedtime. It took some convincing, but we made it happen. Also, this Monstera plant has truly thrived in this house. When this was in our apartment in Austin, it only had like a few leaves. Now with this big window it's next to, it's literally ginormous. I need to get another like support because it is a little, I think it's heavy, so it like falls on itself. But all of these leaves, like I honestly think this plant had maybe 4 big Monstera leaves when we moved in. And I mean, just look at all of them. And I had to trim some of those old ones off because they were kind of browning or yellow. I was like, they weren't doing good. So I trimmed them all back, and look at all these beauties. And there's stuff going on over here. I got 2 new leaves this week. And it's the winter. Like, this really needs a support. It's really fallen down. But, wow. Absolutely incredible. I wish it had more height. I don't know if that's a thing Monstera plants do, so that's all right. Otherwise, though, she's doing great. Absolutely doing the dang thing. Good morning, everyone. Let's have some coffee and then sit down and do some reading. Today's the day I finished Bloodmarked, and I couldn't be more excited about it. Doing a series on my TikTok where I open up my Jam advent calendar. Look at these tiny, adorable jars. Today's was orange yuzu grapefruit spread. So much sourdough in this house right now. It's so fun. I love December. Hi friends. Good morning. So I owe you a reading update of Bloodmarked because I did read to page like 475 last night. I'm almost done with this book. We are almost done with this story. And wow, what a great time this has been. Don't get me wrong, it's been very intense. Lots of action, lots of ink. So there's a lot of things that aren't like happy, but it's so fun to read in the way that just how Tracy Deonn has kept me on the edge of my seat the entire time. It's very explosive. I do wish there has been more time spent with like actual training aspects. I feel like, and this is something you kind of run into a lot sometimes in like YA fantasy, a lot of the magical growth is done by like intuition or like one like eureka moment. But I think too though, because this has to do with combat and fighting, it would make sense if there was more training in that way. Because obviously our main character Bree has not trained to be a knight her entire life. So I wish there was like more elements of seeing growth through repetition, not just through like an aha moment, you know? But again, as I've echoed a few times, this sort of weaving and combination of different types of magic and legacy and heritage being so intertwined in this book is cool. And because we're kind of on the move in this story, it's almost like a road trip, the most chaotic road trip of your life. But I like it because we're kind of being introduced to other magical beings and situations in this world, other locations outside of the campus of UNC, which I think is really kind of opening up this world a bit as well. The end has really kicked into high gear. I'm preparing myself mentally for these last 75 pages because I'm pretty sure they're going to be explosive and end on a cliffhanger. If the first book was any indication, I'm expecting that. So far, so good. I am obviously really liking this. I've also almost read 500 pages, which is great. Actually, no, I have read 500 pages with my pages. I've read The Golem and the Genie. So now I'm just gonna focus on finishing this book and reading more of that book, maybe playing some Pokemon. You never know. But I just wanted to check in and give you my thoughts. Clay got us Whataburger for lunch. Sorry, Matilda, there's nothing here for you, but I truly cannot wait. It's time, everyone. I'm gonna sit down and finish Bloodmarked. I'm really excited. I am really nervous, but we're gonna set you up right here. And I'm about to have a reading session, all right? You're in an, I think this is the first time this angle has ever graced my YouTube channel. Bird's eye view, okay? I finished Bloodmarked. Oh my goodness, what an ending. Where are we gonna go from here? I'm so excited. I don't even know how many books this Legendborn cycle is gonna be. It's called a cycle. So I think it could be even larger than a trilogy. There's so much opportunity, so many different directions. She could also do spin-offs, I feel like, if she wanted to, but let's talk about my feelings about this book before I go on a whole long tangent. The ending was very, very interesting and left me with so many questions, but in a good way. I just love Bree, but I also love Sel. I do feel like the cast of characters in this book was definitely pretty narrowed down in comparison to book one, but I think that was to success. That being said, into the next book, I'm curious to see if we're gonna get like a larger cast once again. I don't know though. There was a huge twist. I honestly did not guess it, which is always very satisfying. And I'm curious to see where we're gonna go. Like, this is really setting up a lot of stuff for like later installments, and it really just left me speechless there. But very, very entertaining. Wow, it's definitely some solid YA fantasy in this series right now. If you haven't read Legendborn, you need to. If you haven't picked up Bloodmarked yet, you need to. Bam. I've also read 570 pages. I think I'm gonna take a shower, play Pokemon, and listen to some more Gollum and the Genie to kind of unwind from the earthquake that was that book on my brain. All right. Ooh, you can see me, but Millie, it's time to catch 'em all. I think Millie could be a Pokemon. She'd be a legendary type though. Wouldn't you, Millie? See, she doesn't even want to talk about it. It's a secret for the next game. Hi friends, and welcome to the end of the video with Matilda. I just wanted to pop in and wrap up everything I was able to read for this vlog because as I documented, I read a lot. Obviously, the primary star of this video was Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn, which turned out to be what I think a really great second installment to this series. We really got a deep dive in not only Bree, but some of our favorite side characters, including Sel. We learned more about the background of different types of magic and different members of the organization, which I really felt like fleshed out a lot of the world. It wasn't a perfect installment, and while the pacing was so fast and impossible to put down, I mean, the twists and turns of this book and just like every moment you feel like you have a breath, you're wrong, something insane kind of crashes into the picture. It didn't give us a lot of time for Bree to sort of reset and also kind of work on her abilities herself. Regardless though, this proved to be another incredible just release. I love the lore. I just think the concept of this YA fantasy world is so strong, and the execution of what Tracy Deonn does is just really well done and impressive. It's just like a solidly fun YA fantasy. You have a great main character, you have some romance, you have lots of action, you have like a strong sense of duty, and like you're watching our characters fight for what they feel like is right, and kind of rooting for that situation is just so fun, and also just like everyone is so endearing. And I read this book obviously very, very quickly, so if you're wanting a series that you can just fly through at the end of the year, the Legendborn cycle is a perfect one to pick up. Also read about 50 pages of The Gollum and the Genie by Helene Wecker. I'm loving this book. I'm not very far. I need to finish it in later reading vlogs as I continue to listen to the audiobook, but it's so beautiful. It's just exactly what I love in historical fiction. These two books could not be more different in style, but I am loving it. Just the concept. I love that the story is whimsical. Like, this is a book that doesn't need to have this touch of fantasy to kind of get what it's trying to get across, which is the story of people and these neighborhoods and different cultures in New York City at the turn of the century. But adding this sort of touch of magic and whimsy to the situation just somehow adds like an additional like human element to it. Because this is a story about like humanity and community and all of those things, and the audiobook is really incredible. The narrator is amazing. The narrator's ability to capture like dialogue and like interfacing between different characters is amazing. Like, I feel like I am almost like in a movie watching people interact with one another. It feels so well done. Like, it's not too overly formal or anything like that. I love the narrator and I can't wait to listen to more. But this book is so good. I can't wait to finish it. I have a feeling it could be a new all-time fave, but there's only one way to find out. Alrighty guys, that is my reading vlog. I read, goodness, over 600 pages, so I'm gonna count that as a success. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you soon with another one soon. Goodbye.